I'm Ivan. I'm working here in Zagreb. I'm not like Slovenian guy you heard before. So I'm going to talk to you today about in-app billing, which is provided by Google. So I think most of you, if not all, here are Android developers or have been working something with Android. And I hope you like that and you wish you could make some profit out of it. So one way to earn money developing Android apps could be that you get a job in an agency and work every month and get paycheck for building Android apps. But if you're not that type of person, you can consider other types or models to monetize your apps. Simplest way is to make your application billable so that user before he can download it from the Google Play Store needs to make a purchase. That's a premium app, and if you would like user to test your app before giving some money to you, you should implement something called freemium. So that is a free app which contains some in-app purchases inside the app itself. Another form of in-app purchase is subscription, which basically is in-app which contains some data, how much time should pass for that subscription to be renewed, and you get user gets a new bill each month, year, or whatever you specified in your Google Developer Console. I won't be talking about premium and ads because that is not part of in-app billing, but they were here in this slide just to make point they exist. This is some statistic where you can see how much revenue is generated on Google Play by each model. It depends with business your app deals. So for example, if you take a look, games manage to have large revenue with freemium apps, but navigation or education apps mostly tend to have paid apps and gain revenue that way. Also, you can notice that navigation apps are a great form of business because they have revenue of 101%. So this is a mistake on this statistic. In order to start making money, of course, you need to have a Google Play developer account, and you need to set up a merchant account. You do that in financial reports under your Google Play developer console. Unfortunately, merchant accounts can be set up in each region. So, for instance, Croatia is one country where you can't register your merchant account, which means your bank account that is registered to Croatia can be used to set up a merchant account. You can try to overpass that by opening a bank account in some different country, which is available to Google purchases. And here you have a link to the table where you can find all the countries that are currently available to make account with. So, implementation. To start the implementation, Google has made a simple example app which contains only one screen, and you can try all different types of items you can make with in-app billing. So for example, you can buy consumable good, which is good that can be bought more than once, and every time you buy it, you don't own it. For another example is durable good, which when you buy it, you own it for good, so forever. And as I talked, subscription. So in this sample app, you can see in the code how everything is implemented. but it is strongly recommended that you don't use that code, so don't copy paste it for the security reasons, because some attackers may be reverse engineered easily if they know how the code looks. So to start, you need to add an IADL file. I don't know if I pronounced that correct. But that is language, Android interface description language. And in order to do that for in-app billing, you need to add Google Play billing library extension. So it's part of your SDK, and you need to download it via your SDK manager. And once you've done that, in your directory, so SDK extras Google Play billing, you will find this file. You need to edit at special place in your project, and this is the directory and the package name where you need to copy. And once you move that file into your project, you can build it, and that will generate this Java class, which will be used to form connection with your Google Play application. Another thing is you need to add permission under the manifest in order to allow your application to use in-app billing. After you've done that, in order to be able to define items that can be purchased for your app, you need to first upload this app that contains user billing permission, and it's signed by your release key store to alpha or beta channel. This is so that you can have access to the feature of Google Play Developer Console that allows you to define items. So if you don't have any build that is using billing permission, you won't be able to define any in-app billing item. So a little bit of code. This is code from Google Sample App. First thing you need to do is connect to a service in order to communicate with Google Play application. When you connect to any kind of service, you need to unbind that service when you don't need it anymore. And another really important step here is setting package name, because if you don't set it on Android Lollipop and above, you will get an exception stating that your service intent isn't explicit and your application will crash. Once you have working service connection, if you are using in-app billing API version 3 or above, and you should be using because version 2 is deprecated and will be removed, you need to check if your device has support for in-app billing. You do this by asking your billing service, is billing supported? Every method that communicates with Google Play has first parameter argument of method integer, which states which billing API version you are using. Second is package name, and else depends on that. After you stated that you have billing supported for your device, so your Google Play application currently installed on device supports in-app billing, you are free to do whatever you need. So you need to state item type for which you want to make in-app purchase. This can be in-app or subscription. So this is the predefined string for subscription item type. And you may notice that if you are using subscription, it is a good thing to use API version 5. Although in current documentation, they are only mentioning version 3, and at some strange points they are they are referencing to version 5. These are the response codes you can get. So, for instance, in this method, you'll get only the response code. For other methods that needs to pass some data, you will get a bundle, and in that bundle you will have integer response key code that will map to some of these response codes. Okay, let's move on. Before you can purchase anything, you should show the user on your UI information about items he can purchase. In order to retrieve details, you again need to communicate with Google Play. You do this by this method, and the things you need to specify are item type and item ID you want to get details from. This is actually a list of items packaged in a bundle under the key items ID list. This comment you see here is also from Google Play example, Google example, and I put it here because nowhere in the documentation it is stated that you shouldn't make larger requests than 20 elements at a time. And for some reason, they are stating that in an example. So that was pretty strange for me to see in code, but not in documentation, because I think this should be fairly relevant information. One thing that I forgot to mention is that items you defined on Google Play console are immutable, so they cannot change the price. When you define ID and price for that item, you cannot change it anymore. Once it's published, it's there. So in order to implement some discounts or sales for your application, you will need to create a new items with new prices, and somehow with some mechanism inform your application that there is discount this month, or I don't know, available for such items, and just replace IDs of the items you are using to purchase them or get fetch details in your app. So this is just the JSON object that you will receive in the response. So when you receive the response in a bundle, you will have a detail list key in this bundle that will contain a string that is string array. So it will contain string array of the JSON objects in string format, so serialized JSON objects. And most important, so that's it, pardon. Okay, after the user purchases something, you need to have information what the user owns at the current moment. So, for example, if users change the device, you want to restore that data. The same principle as for getting details of some item. Here you use getPurchases method, and you will get all the items user currently owns and has purchased. You can see here you're passing another parameter, which is continued token, which you get after the first response. So first time you are trying to fetch purchases, you will send here null or empty string, doesn't matter. And after you get a response, if you have another token sent by Google Play, you should then repeat and do this step until you get empty token. I don't know when this could happen, because limitations are around 700 items, so I don't know any application that I can buy 700 items currently on Google Play that I'm using. Okay, so main thing is to purchase an item. To purchase some item, you need to launch a purchase flow. You will never have to worry about money transactions because all things about purchase are handled by Google Play. You only need to tell Google Play which item user wants to buy. That's very simple. You get buy intent from Google Play, and after you get it, you just start the flow by saying start intent sender for result. This is something a little bit different because a response of this call, so whole purchase flow, you will get in onActivity result. Another thing that is special for subscriptions is that once you buy some subscription, it is possible you have need to upgrade or downgrade that subscription with another one. That's where the API version 5 gets in, because this version you don't have in billing service API 3. Another fun fact is that if you included ADL file from the beginning, I was mentioning, from the SDK manager, you will not have this method. And in order to get this method, its simplest way is to use the file from the Google example they provided on their site. In order to replace current subscription with another one, you need to send Google a list, which can contain only one item or more, of current subscriptions that user is active to the user, and you wish to replace with another subscription. Okay, so this is not a mistake. You should use API 5 for get by intent to replace. After successful purchase, you will get, let's say, receipt, where you will get order ID and purchase token. Purchase token is used to consume your item, and order ID is just ID of this bill or transaction that user made. So once you buy an item, user owns it forever. And Google Play has a restriction that you cannot buy one item multiple times if the user owns it. So they don't want to bill user's bank account with another purchase if the user already has content or feature he paid for. So in order to make some items consumable, you need to consume it. And here's where the purchase token gets into use. Also notice that this is the only call that is not thread safe, so you shouldn't run it on UI thread. All the other calls for get purchases and get a buy intent can be called from anywhere inside your app. Okay. How do you test your application that contains in-app billing? Obviously, you don't want to spend some money for testing the application because you can find some bugs and retest again, and that could be painful for your bank account. So first thing you can test are static responses that Google provides and should be used for testing your response models and verifying signatures that you are checking inside your app. These are the four, let's say, item IDs you can send to Google with the methods I explained before, and you will get some response. Obviously, that is not enough, and you need some real test. But again, you don't want to spend your money. And you can protect your accounts or accounts of your testers, so Google Play accounts, by stating them as test accounts in Google Developer Console of your application project. What this will make is that any transaction made with that account will be processed in a sandbox, and it will not be a real money transaction. And only thing that will be different from the real in-app purchase is that in the response you will miss order ID because there is no transaction to find that ID from. And also for any subscription, if it's monthly, annually, or half year renewing subscription, this subscription will last for just 1 day. So you can test if your subscriptions are renewed properly, etc. So once you have working application with in-app billing and you can start earning your money, you need to take care about security. First thing, you don't want a user to be able to buy your items, content, features, or anything if they try to tamper with your call when you started to launch purchase process. There are many applications that can do that, and first step to avoid that is to check the signed response. So every purchase response contains another field which is signed token, and you can decrypt it with your public key, that can be found in your Google Developer account. And you can check if the response is genuine. Another additional way is to contact Google API and check if the order ID and the purchase token you get from the response really exists, and Google really knows that user bought the item, so order ID, the money transaction was made, and purchase token is valid. As I mentioned, there are a lot of hacker apps that can modify your behavior on system, so on your device or any other app. Here you can find some list of these piracy apps, and most of them need rooted device in order to function, but I found some of them really doesn't have to have root permission, which is quite unsecure. And another thing, you want to protect your content from malicious users, so that user who bought the content you provided cannot distribute them just by downloading that part of content you want user to buy and sending it to another user. First thing you should never do is bundle that content in the APK. And second thing you can do is encrypt that data. So data fetched from server or some real-time service can be encrypted on the device, preferable with device-specific key, so it is only encrypted for that device. And of course, if user changes the device, you need to have some recovery mechanism that will encrypt that data again. As I mentioned, there are few mistakes or bugs in the documentation, which has a lot of chapters. It's not that much to read, and you should, if you start implementing in-app billing, you should read it all, because there are really some small footnotes that are really important. So you have complete overview and training from Google, and it's okay read, but also download the example app, because that's the section where you see the actual code running. You can also make a project for that sample app and really test the app, not just look at the code. And you will see in the comments that there are some pretty important informations you should watch out. In example itself, like I stated, the limitation that you shouldn't acquire more than 20 item details at one go. And also, I think I forgot to mention this. When you are acquiring buying intent for purchase, you need to send developer payload. It's the last argument for that method. And it's very hard to define what the payload should be. So Google states it should be something that uniquely identifies that purchase. And they say it's best practice for consumable items to just generate some random payload. And it's not very important because you will consume your item once it's purchased successfully. But for non-consumable items, it should be something that uniquely defines the user. And that is very hard to achieve. And if you try to Google it, you will not find so many solutions what is the proper way to do that. Maybe the best way is if you have your own backend to have some uniquely defined ID of your user, of his account, to use that. Also, I mentioned the issue with the ADL file for subscription downgrade and upgrade, where you are missing method in SDK version of that file. And it's very hard to find difference between these two versions of billing service API. And also you can see that nowhere I use version 4, because nowhere in documentation it's not stated that there exists version 4. Only in version notes you can see some changes that were made. But they are stating that you should use version 3 because it's official version. And if you need subscription downgrade or upgrade, you will use version 5. This is a good blog post by guys who actually made in-app purchase with in-app and subscriptions. And I use this when I need to implement something, because there is no actual way you can test your app before it goes to publish. You can test it, but you can even test your real money transaction. You can test everything, but you will not know how order ID, for example, you will not know how order ID behaves after it was renewed, because they are stating that it is the same as the first order ID, just adding suffix 1, then next month or next renew it will be 2, 3. But when you try that in tests, sandbox, you don't have order ID, and even they have a bug that if you downgrade or upgrade subscription, you will get renewing subscriptions for both of subscription you had before and the new one. So the first one isn't override in sandbox. So I was concerned if that will happen in production, which would be a big mistake. And you should read this post because they stating their experience and how in-app purchase really behaves. So that's all for me, and you can ask me anything if something is not clear. Yeah.
What would be the easiest way for me as a developer from Croatia to get a legal merchant account?
Probably you would find nearest country that the in-app that purchase is available, and you can have a merchant account, and then you go to that country and try to open a bank account. Also, you will need to consider legal advice from someone, because probably you will have to pay taxes in that country, and if you are transferring money also in Croatia. So.
Do you have any experience with that?
No. We only develop something for the clients who have German bank account or some other bank account that is available to create merchant account. So I can't help you with that. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
I was just wondering, does anybody have experience with that here? In merchant accounting? And how does it, what's your experience? Did you have to pay taxes in both countries?
No, just in the country of origin. And also there are third-party solutions, but they're in conflict with the price policies of the company. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, can we? We're done with the slide.